So what is going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video on the channel where today we are going to be taking a look at the top 10 horrific moments in game for Call of Duty Zombies. We've already taken a look at the most horrific moments within cutscenes, but we haven't taken a look at actual in-game content when you're playing the game. Anything that whilst playing a zombies map we come across. That's actually a part of the gameplay, and perhaps unsurprisingly, since we have so many zombies maps, there's quite a lot to look at. Although I would say some maps are scarier than others. Some maps contain more horrific elements, more horror, gore, blood and guts. But let's go ahead and take a look at 10 of these, starting off with Garedkarui, where in this map you will find a huge dragon lying on the ground, dead, with its guts spilling out of its body. I tried to think, is there anything similar to this in any other zombies map? Is there a creature on the scale of this, where we see something terrible has happened to it? We have plenty of people in states like this, but not anything on the scale of a huge dragon, and because it's so big, it just amplifies the amount of blood and guts 10 times. As soon as you spawn into the map you're met with this, it's extremely bloody. If I was doing this in a particular order, you probably could put this at number 1, but I'm not. But yeah, for me, seeing this in game reminds you why COD Zombies is 18 plus. Coming in at number 9 is the dead reporter that you can find in Shadows of Evil. In and around Jessica's area of the map, near the tramline in one of the windows, you will find a person lying dead on a chair with a knife sticking out of his chest and holding a note saying M on his lap. It's kind of unfortunate because he's really ended up in this situation for no fault of his own. He was, I would say, manipulated by the Shadow Man. We know this reporter was tasked by the Shadow Man to complete multiple different tasks in multiple different locations for him, traveling around the world collecting different artifacts. One of those artifacts was the summoning key, which is the most powerful artifact to ever exist. So knowing this, Dr. Monty wrote the reporter a letter, which is what we see him holding, telling him not to give the summoning key to anyone. However, as we know if you're familiar with the zombie storyline, not long after attempting to retrieve the summoning key, Richtofen would confront the reporter. The reporter then waved his letter in front of Richtofen, telling him to stay away. He then attempted to attack Richtofen, and in self-defense, Richtofen stabbed the reporter to death, plunging a knife into his chest. And that's the state that we find him left in on the map. Not the goriest of the bunch, but still pretty horrific, especially when you know the story behind it. Next in the map Tago Toen, in the laboratory on the mountain, you will find clones of our characters, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, as test subjects. This is something story-wise that was told to us all the way back in World War 2009. We learnt about this back then. We heard radios in that map talking about Call of the Dead, which explained how Richtofen over in Siberia turned Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey into his super soldiers, which is why they would accompany him into completing different tasks for him in World at War and Black Ops 1. But because Tago Toen is a remake of Call of the Dead, a lot of that old story is brought back up again. But one thing that we didn't know was our characters were a part of Richtofen's cloning process. And so you can find them in, I guess, test tubes, unresponsive. But the big difference is they have been modified. Some of them have long claw-like fingers, humps on their back. Their arms have been turned into weapons almost. They are vastly different to what they usually look like. Now, because Tago Toen is of course a part of the broken cycle, there's a lot more to this, and you can find posters around the map of other people that were used in Richtofen and Group 935's cloning process that had, you could say, even worse deformities than these. And that's the reason I wanted to put it on the list, not because it's so gruesome or bloody, but because it's so scary to me in a unsettling kind of way. If I saw this in real life, I would freak out and run. Next, over on Ascension, on one of the tables, you will find a monkey, well, dead, with pins sticking all out of its body. The table is absolutely bloody. There is a tray with all tools on it. That are obviously the tools that have been used to experiment on it. We know as a part of Ascension's storyline, the Ascension group was sending monkeys into outer space. They then became infected with Element 115 and came crashing back down to Earth on lunar landers. That explains why we have our space monkeys in Ascension, but we can see some of them didn't quite make it that far. They didn't make it past the Ascension group's experiments and were just left for dead in a pretty bad state, like the one we see here. Next, over on the map The Giant, you will find, if you look outside of the map, there is a hole in the wall with a body hanging from the ceiling. Now, if you go into theatre mode, you will notice this corpse is just hanging from the roof, but it's supposed to look like it's somebody actually hanging via a rope. And we actually know who this is because if you listen to one of the radios in Doris, we discover that this is H. Porter. a scientist that worked at Group 935, but when the zombie outbreak happened at Doris, he was left with either two options: be killed by the undead and potentially turn into a zombie himself, or take the other way out, which we see he did.
But I'm all out of hope. Auf Wiedersehen, my friend.
Warning, the shield is now active.
Damn it!
Scientists
I can't find my pills.
designated materials and report to the barracks.
They are coming.
This is not a drill.
I must do what I must do.
The shield is now active.
God forgive us all.
To destroy the designated materials and report to the barracks. This is not a drill. Warning, the shield is now active. To destroy the designated materials and report to the barracks. This is not a drill. Warning, the shield is now active. Scientists are to destroy the designated materials and report to the barracks. This is not a drill. Warning, the shield is now active. To destroy the designated materials and report to the barracks.
We hear H. Porter attempting to find his pills quickly before the zombies get to him, but he can't, and so instead we hear a chair scraping as he stands on it, and then him choking as he hangs himself. Probably one of the ones that you could have predicted to see in this video can be found on Vero. Everything in this room can be included, even the writing on the wall I find freaky with the numbers and symbols, but it's mainly the body parts in the middle here, with the torso, the arms, legs, a whole body that's been chopped up, hanging, and then below it we have smaller parts. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave that one right there. It was definitely scary seeing this as a 13 or 14-year-old back in the day in Vero. Another one that always creeped me out in the same sense as the Tago Toen one was the pods on Tago Toen. For the longest time there were theories around what exactly were these. Are these aliens? Are they zombies? Yes. Since Tago Toen was the main place where Group 935 were creating the undead horde, we actually see them in pods, I presume, ready to be sent off to Germany. This is how they would be sent off before they were going to be used in war. But just seeing these human-sized zombies cramped into these small pods, and then their eyes glowing as they look out through the glass, like close the curtain or something. Ugh. Another one that you'd probably expect to see on this list, and another hanging person, is Peter McCain in Shinonuma. He actually ended up accidentally hanging himself. He wasn't hung here by another group such as Division 9. He didn't hang himself on purpose like H. Porter as a way to not be killed by the undead. He actually parachuted down from a plane and his parachute got caught in the rooftop. It's as simple as that. Kind of an embarrassing way to go out, I guess, but it is what it is. Seeing this as you load into Shinonuma was horrifying. He's also got half of his arm missing, but there was something fun about it when you shoot him and he moves. I'm not gonna lie, we all do it. Coming down to the final two, the first one, the pigs on 5. I know when I spoke about this in a recent video, pigs are always used in experiments and the laboratory under the Pentagon. That is its purpose, so it's no surprise you see them here, but to see them in the state that they are, one pig just hanging still alive, and then a load of them just dead around the map. I don't know, man, it's just something about animals, it gets to me. And finally, in at number 1 is the hanging bodies in Mob of the Dead or Blood of the Dead. For me, I love the atmosphere on this map. It's not only bloody seeing these body bags with blood dripping from them, it's gory, but it's scary as well. It's what you'd expect to see in a horror house, for example, or a killer's back room. It's like watching one of those generic horror movies, but you actually get to play it and experience it first person. It's not so much scary or really bloody, but it is creepy, and when you combine everything, the metal bars from the roof as well, the lightning, it being in a prison, this for me is the definition of horror. So there we go, 10 horrifying gameplay moments in Call of Duty Zombies. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.